This spring festival, I spent my hometown in the countryside of Guangxi. At night, I often surrounded my family and relatives around the stove to talk about anecdotes about local villages. After listening to it, I feel that something involves the law of the Dharma world. A small village can see the law of fate. Across several villages, in the depths of the mountain, there is a famous male witch. When he went to Guangdong, many bosses drove to pick him up and pray for disaster relief. The reason why he came to him like this is that he is accurate and has a sense of words, especially when it comes to the future, which is really not nonsense. He will also follow his own method to eliminate disasters and obstacles and even prolong life, which is effective. When my family was a child, I asked him to come to my house many times to predict the disaster. Even last year during the spring festival, I met him in the county. When he came to my house to do things when he was a child, I asked him, how did your ability come from? He said that at first, he was just an ordinary person, farming in the field every day. One day, I saw a tall red thing falling from the sky and hugging him. Then he was in a coma for 7 days. After waking up, he began to do all kinds of magic. He also said that he was possessed by the god, so unlike those local witches, he had strong magic power. I asked if you could meet that god. He said that as long as he burned incense to remember him, he would come, wearing the same ancient costumes and skirts on TV. I noticed this feature. According to the Taiping Guangji, there was a person who had a cause and friendship with a god who inspected the lower world. Venerable God told him that if you want to beg me to do things in the future, I will only come if you burn incense in a clean room to remember me. Later, this person encountered something difficult for himself and his relatives and friends. As long as he did it, the god would come to help him, and the problem was solved. The psychic mentioned above, he once said that a boy in our village needed to be someone else as son-in-law, which could avoid great trouble. After that, it was decided to recognize him as a godfather. But the boy's father thought why he had to do it many times and didn't believe it. When I was in primary school, the boy was in junior high school. He was driving a motorcycle carrying a girl on the road. Unexpectedly, he fell beside a bridge. He was sent to Dashing County Hospital and died soon after. Not long after, my third uncle gave birth to a son, when he came to his house to do things. He said that his third uncle and his son would be endangered and his work would be disadvantageous, and it was specific until a certain month. That year, my third uncle had an accidental fracture. Once he went to work after drinking, and the superiors came to check, and he was demoted. The third uncle didn't accept the result and didn't do it. Another neighbor of my family, the principal of the primary school, was told that he was injured and fractured 1 month, but he didn't care. That month, I fell down on my way home from school and broke my hand. The solution to the problem of my third uncle and his son is to let my cousin be someone else as son. Or one of the local ways is to go to other people's houses to eat rice, which is to have dinner during the holiday. The so-called eating rice is to go to dinner once a year, such as during the spring festival, which is similar to the nominal son of a family. It is in this way that the locals solve the so-called problem of ambival. As for whether it's true that parents and children are in a relationship, in fact, from the perspective of Buddhism, it is a manifestation of the evil fate of parents and children, or the lack of coordination of the energy of the 5 elements in life. In terms of the operation of fate, the 8 characters of birth are not nonsense, and they have their own mysteries and truths. My grandmother said that my cousin was very sick when he was a child and ran to the hospital at any time. Once he was seriously ill and was ready to be sent to the morgue. Later, I officially found a family in the same village, worshipped his head as his godfather, and went to dinner on New Year's holidays. Unexpectedly, it was really good. And who worships as a godfather, or who goes to eat rice, is not to choose a family randomly, but to look at the 8 characters. At least the 8 characters can be compared with each other. In this way, children who can be supported and are often sick can recognize others as their godfathers, or don't recognize their godfathers and eat rice, which can also solve such disasters. The secrets of the Dharma world here are worth exploring. Why did you do this to get through the sick in peace? Because there are examples in reality, the local customs are the same, which is not a folk superstition. It's just that we have too little understanding and application of the origin method. For example, my cousin was often sick and had injections when he was a child. In my memory, my aunt often took him to the hospital, which was very hard. But later, through recognition of others as a father-in-law, you can really get through the crisis. According to my grandmother, my cousin was not ready to live. In this way, he is now very tall and healthy. There is also an aunt in my family, who was told by Mr. Numerology at the beginning. Her son was blind and sick when he was a child. Later, I found a place to take a medicine similar to a magic doctor. I saw it, okay. However, Her mother later did not listen to the doctor's instructions and gave her son a lot of longan. The old disease relapsed and died soon after. I was still young at that time. When I was still picking longan in a relative's house, I saw that his mother also brought him, but unfortunately his life was not long. It can be seen that this kind of theory of intercism between people is not bullshit. It has a principle of operation. Traditional Chinese culture talks about the 5 elements of yin and yang: gold, wood, water, fire and earth. Buddhism talks about earth, water, fire, wind, sky and other elements. When these elements are combined, there is bound to be a situation of integration and exclusion. The theory of the 5 elements may be regarded as a certain energy in a person's numerology, in which a certain element plays a dominant role. And when people get along with people and even things, there must be coordination and interaction of energy. The folk practice is actually to coordinate the conflict of this energy element through the intervention of a third person to make it stable and harmonious. The elder brother who has learned Zhou Sheng's number is not unfamiliar with this. For example, a person is now facing a crisis and is very urgent. Through coins, the horoscope is displayed as gold and wood. He is wood, and the external energy is gold. To get through the danger, you need to coordinate with the elements of water, because the other party is gold, and gold gives birth to water. Which can release the power of gold, water gives birth to wood, and water can help you and enrich yourself. For specific use something that represents the water element. For example, a person in danger, placing models and drawings of water like mice, pigs and other animals on his desk, or placing water in a certain place. Or working with water like people, will help him get through it in peace. In the past, some people encountered a critical event, and after a sorcerer taught it like this, the effect was immediate. This kind of origin is actually the application of the origin method, which has its own theory and rationality, and it is fundamentally based on cause and effect. Master Lian also asked Manjushri Bodhisattva for Jiangkou Bagua and other teachings in Wutai Mountain. Although these are not the ultimate methods and cannot be realized, they can quickly solve real problems. In the Fuzhong materials of Master Lian, it is mentioned that Master Lotus said to Manjushri Bodhisattva, the master of all wisdom, I will come to Wutai Mountain, which is a great victory. I am inspired by the fearless Guanyin Bodhisattva. I hope you can learn all the astrology, divination and other knowledge in the world. Although all the learning of astral divination and arithmetic are not the holy meaning of righteousness, all sentient beings in front of you have all kinds of pain. When famine, war and all kinds of diseases arise, if the cause and fate of the world can be changed, it may make sentient beings a little auspicious and peaceful. Although, in terms of meaning, the fact that all causes and effects will never change because of fortune-telling, after such an adjustment. Perhaps sentient beings can make their bodies and minds slightly calm in a short period of time, and their minds will not be completely confused. Then, it can also let him gain confidence from the world's truth first, and then slowly guide them into the holy truth, and become a Buddha in the end. Therefore, although these arithmetic studies are not the first meaning of reality, in order to guide suffering sentient beings, they can still be conveniently connected. And a perfect bodhisattva should be more concerned about learning all the dharmas, which is the law is amicable vows to learn the power of wish. For the sake of all the interests and feelings, I sincerely pray that you can excavate all the complete canons such as astral, astronomy, arithmetic, etc. and edify all the disciples. So that they can live in all the auspicious things in the world, do not violate anything, and gradually practice the Dharma according to this, and finally complete the Buddha fruit. These numbers are not the ultimate. They are the category of art, but they can bring benefits to people for a short time and get rid of the violation of fate, so their existence is also reasonable. Starting from the origin of this kind of birth, looking for the intervention of the third energy can coordinate the power of compatibility. From the perspective of cause and effect, it is natural that there is a certain evil fate in the previous life, and there is a manifestation of this world level. Some people are mediocre, but when they find a virtuous wife, they walk in the clouds. Folks say that such a woman is a husband, not a husband. Or after some people have a son, there are many disasters at home, constantly losing their family money. Some people have a son, and they are constantly celebrating. In terms of cause and effect, there is a saying of debt collection and gratitude, and in the world, there is a relationship between them. In ancient times, before getting married, it was necessary to see whether the 8 characters were the same. And in the 8 characters, there are also the zodiac signs such as match, rush, harm, punishment, etc. Metaphysics believes that if the zodiac sign is harmful to form a lover or husband and wife, nothing will happen, often quarrel, affect the relationship, and some will eventually break up or divorce. Folk songs say, there have been green rabbits and yellow dogs since ancient times. Red horses and yellow sheep have a long life, black rats and yellow oxen are prosperous, and dragons and chickens are more compatible for a long time. Marriage is rare for snakes and rabbits, and the family must be rich. Whether the two people can go to the end can actually be seen from the 8 characters. After being together, it can also be seen whether they continue to improve or fail. Since the core lies in the cause and effect, but if you get the capital, don't worry about the end, give more from the top to the bottom. Recite the scriptures and practice the law, and gain the blessing, and the external 5 elements and other factors will naturally be adjusted accordingly. Therefore, there is a saying that blessed people live in blessed places. On the other hand, adjusting the elements of feng shui and numerology coordination will also play a certain role, and the two are opposites. In our hometown village, a month or 2 ago, a woman who married to Chongzhai died of a brain tumor. The young man died young. Last year, I saw that she was very active in the group in her hometown, but I didn't expect to leave suddenly. Before she got seriously ill, the local fairy woman advised her to stop that lewd relationship. She does have a proliferation of relationships and has sex with many men. In the past, when I was at home, I heard that she sometimes slept with different men in the village. The second suggestion of the fairy is to let her be a Taoist nun or offer some god. I haven't confirmed the specifics clearly. In short, it is related to the god. After doing these 2 steps well, Xianpa said that she would be healthy and have a good life in the future. She didn't listen. No one is here now. The principle of recognizing the father-in-law and eating rice is to use the coordination principle of the energy of the 5 elements. As for which one to go to, you must first look at the 8 characters to see if the other party agrees. The practice of recognizing the godfather is more laborious, and it is very expensive to set up a banquet, but eating rice is relatively simple. I have been going to 2 relatives to eat rice since I was a child, even during the spring festival or when I have time. My mother said that doing this is similar to me being the son of that family, eating and living normally in his family. This can make me healthy. When I was a child, I got sick a lot, especially lung disease. I often got injections and infusions, and then I got better. I didn't have any diseases at ordinary times. There is also a way in the folk to recognize Guanyin Bodhisattva, a certain righteous god and a psychic figure as godmother and godfather, which is said to be easy to feed. In this way, it seems to find a support and get the power of protection. For example, Liang Chaowei worshipped the White Dragon King as his righteous father. Or when a person worships a master and achiever, because the master is powerful in the Dharma world, the ghosts and gods in the world will respect him. And the wronged relatives and creditors will also more or less look at the master's face. As for worshipping the Bodhisattva as the godmother, it is naturally the folk practice. However, this is actually the same as the corresponding reason. If you correspond to Guanyin Bodhisattva and Jizang Bodhisattva, you can naturally solve all obstacles. In ancient times, there was a man who practiced a great sad spell. The ghost captured his sister's soul, but he was afraid of her brother's revenge and released her back. We talked freely and told a lot of stories by the stove. Cousins like to listen to my stories. My cousin used to study at Shaping Middle School in Heshan, Guangdong Province. One of her roommates, her mother, believes in Buddhism, lives in Hong Kong, has 2 houses, and is dressed in plain clothes. This roommate has a special thing, that is, he can see ghosts and gods, and his eyes can see them directly. My cousin used to listen to her and was so scared that she couldn't tell, but because she saw too much, she took it for granted and saw it strange. For example, when someone else sweeps a grave, or on campus, the girl can directly see the ghost and what it is doing. Once, my cousin and she were in the canteen on campus, and she suddenly said, "Look, a group of chickens and ducks are lining up here, ready to be reincarnated." Of course, my cousin saw nothing. Once they were walking at night, and there was a well cover of the sewer on the road. She suddenly said to her cousin, "Don't get close to it. There is something on it." And so on, she can see ghosts directly, such as the ghost's clothes and so on. I don't have this kind of vision, and I don't know anyone who can see ghosts directly. Others have to be more or less determined, or only see blurry images. In the case of this girl, it is estimated that she is born with heavenly eyes or yin and yang eyes. Talking about mystery, in fantasy, there is no lack of cause and effect and morality. Some people in the village are in decline, people and property are reduced, some die, some are seriously ill, or nothing is achieved. The woman who died of a tumor just mentioned had 2 daughters and 4 sons. One daughter was crazy and ignorant. She died shortly after marriage, and her normal daughter has also died now. Among the 4 sons, the eldest son went to another place, the second son worked in Guangdong, and the 4th son gambled and did not do his job. When Lao San was alive, there was a family of 3, but he did not do his job, but was a thief and stole a car in Nanning. It is said that after being caught, he was tortured. After being imprisoned and released from prison, he was sick and very thin. He often beat his wife at home. His mother persuaded him to put a knife on his mother's neck, and his wife died of drinking pesticides. Shortly after his wife's death, the psychic communicated that her wife said that he would accompany her soon. After a while, he died of illness. They left behind a daughter. The little girl later went to the 1st and 2nd grade of primary school and lived with her grandmother at home. One afternoon, in physical education class, the little girl and her classmates went to the pool in the center of our village to catch fish that had killed about 10 people. Unfortunately, they fell into the water. At that time, one of her classmates saw it and ran home to tell the adults instead of asking the adults nearby for help. When the adults arrived, the little girl was already dead. Those psychics said that now, their family of 3 is together. After the little girl drowned, her teacher dived into the water to salvage the girl's body. It is said that her grandmother held the girl's body, and the sound of crying echoed in the village for a long time. I was still in middle school at that time. I was deeply shocked to hear the news. At that time, the education in the village was not very perfect. There are a lot of people in such a family, but they are gradually dilapidated. Even when almost every family in the village builds new houses, their families still live in dirt tile houses. It was not until these 2 years that they began to build new houses with poverty alleviation funds. The head of the family, that is, the man with 4 sons and 2 daughters, is a Taoist priest and a barber. He used to look for a junior or a woman when he worked outside. And his wife is a Japanese, which is really very strange. How can there be a Japanese woman in our village? I can't say why. There is a black mark unique to Japanese ghosts in the middle part under her nose, which is still there. It is not clear how she married him. However, during the war of resistance against Japanese aggression, the Japanese army officially had such a sign. If this is the case, it is not surprising that there used to be killing and evil karma, etc. Today's family is dilapidated, and children are crazy and died. Whether a family can prosper mainly depends on whether the ancestors have accumulated in virtue, not how smart and clever they are, or how much feng shui they know. Master Guang told a story of cause and effect. At the end of the Qing dynasty, there was a famine in a place, and the imperial court distributed food to pay for disaster relief. But a large member of the imperial court was embezzled, resulting in hundreds of thousands of people starving to death. Master Guang said that such a kind of person, who harms others because of his own selfishness, how can God keep him? If his children and grandchildren are cut off, it is inevitable that he will be rewarded by hell. The ancients of China liked to talk about Inda. Inda is different from food. Inda especially refers to merit to sentient beings, the world, and the country. This kind of person is blessed by God, Goddess Way helps people, and the gods and underworld of heaven are often praised for such people. There was a case in ancient times, Sheng and Ningbo in the Ming Dynasty. The family is poor and confused. The end of life is less than counting money. Then he lost the museum. Copied by Zhang's family in the west of the pond. A maid and her family. More spare to come and run. Gong Jun refused. The maid and Tongzhai Xixi had to go together. Dragon Boat Festival. The west seat is relieved of the hall. The runburn can't be cured. The public is in charge of it. Later, I met his uncle at Jiangkou. Uncle said, I have a pediatric disease. Pray to the city god. Night dream city god sits on the hall. Call the officials to change the hungry residents. Sing the name pair book. More than 10 people outside. That is, sing the name of the nephew. I asked the officials. Why did Mr. Sun change? The official said. This man is 46 years old. You should go out and starve to death. Because on the night of April 18th this year. Refuse a certain lewd run. The second period of longevity. Change to lewd nationality. I deeply congratulate my nephew. There are more and more negative people in the back. More than 100 gold per year. Until the prince is 46 years old. It is the 36th year of Wanli. The price of rice is so high. There are quite a lot of dead. And Gong Yuru. The public queen analyzed his son. The family is already very rich. It is rare in ancient times. End up without illness. This story is about Mr. Sun, who changed his fate by refusing to have sex with the maids of a Nozick family, and won the approval of the underworld, thus changing his fate. In the book of the underworld, Mr. Sun originally 46. If you starve to death, even if you don't die, the underworld has been fixed. But he refused the maid's initiative to embrace him, and the underworld extended him. 24. The life expectancy of the year has increased the fortune. Therefore, when the price of rice skyrocketed during the famine, Mr. Sun was still rich, and his family was very rich, and he died without a disease. Many people may have practiced for many years, and they do not have the treatment of prolonging life and entering the salary. Mr. Sun can get such a good reward if he does this. It can be seen that he has worked hard in behavior, body and speech, and his heart is beneficial to others, and his merits are the greatest. There are all kinds of disasters in the world every day, and some people die. In fact, these underworlds are counted. When a person cries out for his injustice and sadness, the underworld also counts. Just like Mr. Sun was originally starved to death, but he was changed by the underworld because he refused to be promiscuous. He lived a long life and was rich. Donkey blamed the sky and the world. Work harder in your heart and heart, and you can gradually change your destiny. When I was chatting with the people in the village, I found that I was an alien. Only I believed in Buddhism. They had no concept of relief in their minds, and they didn't know what Buddhism was like. Every day is life, work and witchcraft. It's true that Buddhism is unpleasant. Today, everyone can hear about the practice of Buddhism, which is really a blessing of disaster. May you practice diligently and be auspicious.